Okay. Why the BMA? Why not sell it? And then, buy an airplane, or Provincetown Museum, or MoMA, or any other place that you could possibly put all this great art?
I sold it here because I don't need to social climb. I don't want to pay the huge amount of tax I would pay if I sold it. Mm-hmm. And thirdly, Baltimore is my home. It is where I first got my taste for contemporary art, where I first saw art that made people angry, that made me excited. Mm-hmm. And I think it should stay in my hometown. So some other kid from here won't leave and will stay here and try to do more outrageous things in the art world.
It's going to be hard to be more outrageous than you have been, I have to say.
Well, but to me, it's easy. It's easy to be outrageous. It's harder to be funny and change people's minds, because I use outrageousness to get your attention, but at the same time, I make fun of the rules that outsiders live in. I don't make fun of the rules we rebelled from. And I think sometimes we have to make fun of ourselves before we can make fun of others. And my whole career has been about making fun of myself. I called my films trash epics right from the beginning. My book is called A Feel Bad Romance. Who put that on their book? And it actually isn't a feel bad romance, I don't think. Although the people in it they don't feel bad either, some of them.
So romance, yeah, this is pretty outrageous.
And it's just been optioned for me to make a movie of it, which that's really outrageous. Yeah. Because I know when I'm doing the audio book, when I have to read it out loud, I realize how outrageous it is when I look over and see a technician that maybe hasn't read it or know who I am or something. So, but a movie of it would be pretty crazy, yeah.
She is a really horrible human being.
But everyone that reads the book kind of roots for her, because she is so bad. You don't want to meet her or hang around with her, but she's so rotten that I enjoy her company.
Well, yes. And I have to tell you, the fact that this book came out of your mind really is impressive. I mean, I've loved reading your social criticism and your essays. Love them. Loved your book about hitchhiking across America. Love your films. Love listening to you talk. You're hysterically funny. Love your stand-up. But when I read this book, I thought, what a mind, what an imagination. How much, forgive me, trash and detail is roaming in there.
That's
for you to come up with this
Plus,
stuff.
You're in it.
Yes, I know.
Were you surprised? Had you heard that before you read it, or did you just get to the page?
I heard it first.
Okay.
People started texting me.
Oh, I'm
saying,
sorry. I was hoping you'd just read it and find out.
And
it's
saying,
complimentary.
Well, it is. I was very scared. When they called me and said, you're in John Waters' book, I went, oh no.
So you have to play yourself in the movie.
Yes, I will. Who else are you going to get who's been on TV this long?
Sloane Brown. She usually plays a newscaster in all my movies.
That's right, she does. But she's not still doing it, see. I'm still doing it, so that's my claim.
And Rhea did it the longest of anybody, my dear friend Rhea Feiken. She wasn't a newscaster, but she was even older than Barbara Walters when she retired. I think Rhea has been on the longest and been my oldest friend, and she's been in my movies too. Yeah.
She was, in her 80s. Yeah, when she just recently stopped. Yeah. Well, I know you talk about Baltimore and BMA and all that, but you really mean that, don't you?
I do mean it, yeah.
This city is the city people love to hate, and sometimes more people who live here hate this city than people from out of here,
I have a whole thing in my show where I talk about we should embrace it. We should have a bumper sticker that says, "The Wire, it's still like that." Or they always say, we're the murder capital. No, we weren't. We're number 4. So it should say, there's 3 worse cities. I think, we should just embrace it instead of all this believe in this greatest city in the world. Come on, I love it too, but I've been to Paris. I mean, it just invites mockery. So, and our city has a great sense of humor about itself. I mean, I love living here. I've never thought of leaving. I never have. But then when other people tell me they moved here, I do say, why?
Why?
Because everybody that lives here has developed this sense of humor. And I think nobody here has an inferiority complex about it, like they used to when I grew up. They do not now. And I think because so many people have done shows and everything about satirizing all the things that people use against us.
Or sentimentalizing, like Barry Levinson.
Yeah, but he also made movies about anti-Semitism. He didn't make movies about how functional we were. Mm-hmm. And Ann Tyler writes books about how bizarre middle-of-the-road people are. Not bizarre, but special in a way that interests her so much. So I think everybody here, I always said it, nobody made a book about Harbor Place, but now they will because it's Dawn of the Dead.
Maybe not for long, but we shall see.
I don't know, whenever they fix stuff up, even the Lexington Market, I thought, I hope they hire actors to be junkies out front.
Oh, John! It is changing, though. Baltimore is changing and getting, in some ways, more gentrified. I mean, look at Harbor East. I mean, there are areas that are changing.
Saudi Arabia, you mean? That's what it feels like when I go by that statue. I
Oh,
think
that
they're going to
statue,
topple it. But yes, and Hamden, it used to be kind of a scary white neighborhood when I grew up, if you weren't white. And now it's hipster heaven, which I love Hamden. You know, to me, each neighborhood is, and Fells Point has radically changed again. Each neighborhood here goes through these major changes. I just wish they'd all get better at once together. Because in my neighborhood, and I'm not going to say where I live, but there was not one crime for 4 months. Not even a car break-in.
Wow.
And 2 miles away, there's murders.
Yeah.
So it's kind of unfair, really. I mean, and it was always the city of neighborhoods, so it's really that. And some people I know that lived in Hamden never went to the Senator Theater. They never saw it. They didn't cross over. There's people that just don't. There's these invisible lines that keep people segregated and away from each other.
Which is bad.
Yes.
Yeah. Speaking of things changing, you've been interviewed hundreds of times all over the world. Yeah. You will not remember this, but the first time I interviewed you was the late 80s. I came to your apartment across from Druid Hill Park.
Temple Gardens. Yeah.
Yes. I walked in with, to do this interview show I had. First thing I saw was the electric chair.
Still the first thing you see in my house.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And then the art I was introduced to that day was not this stuff. Of course, that was a long time ago. There were paintings of murderesses.
I had one, not a lot. I had one. Yes. Gertie, who I wrote about in Carsick, one of the fake persons that picks me up in the part that I wrote, The Worst Rides That Could Happen, was her getting revenge on me for that painting.
And then you showed me paintings. I know I'm remembering this right because I was shocked. They look like Disney animation models, and you told me that John Wayne Gacy painted them?
John Wayne Gacy did do a painting I have. I did not buy it. It was a Christmas gift. I really am not a fan of John Wayne Gacy. Not only was he a bad painter, he was a big closet queen. So I did have a painting by him. I did not buy that. I did not give him money.
I see.
But I thought you were going to talk about the picture I have of Alvin the Chipmunk that was done by the real animators of Alvin masturbating.
Oh, no.
That they sent me.
Oh, my gosh.
I thought that's what you were going to bring up. But probably not for television.
Well, I remember back then thinking, does this guy have his tongue in his cheek? Is he like pulling a joke on all of us?
Of course I did. The John Wayne Gacy paintings are terrible, first of all. I inherited another one from Elsbeth Bothy. She had one, the judge that collected all skulls. Did you meet her? She was quite a piece of work. I loved Elsbeth, but I inherited one, so I guess I'm leaving it. It's not hanging anywhere. And I didn't put it in the show. No, I did not. No.
And you had dirt from his lawn, too.
Well, somebody gave me that, a fan sent me that. So if someone sends you the dirt from John Wayne Gacy's lawn, do you throw it out? I mean, no. Talk about a conversation piece. I mean, it's in the true crime section of my library on the shelf. I didn't seek it out. I didn't buy it, but fans send me amazing stuff, and it all goes to Atomic Books, so they almost never come to my house, which is thankful.
So if we want to see your really interesting stuff, go to Atomic Books.
No, that's where I get all my family. If it comes to my house, I guarantee you I will never answer it. But if it goes to Atomic Books, 1 out of 100 I answer better be good. And don't write me in tiny little letters like, stop me before I kill again. I don't read them.
Is it harder, again, this was 88, so things that were
That's
shocking.
not that long ago. That was right before I made Crybaby.
Yeah.